All right, ready to dive in. Today, we're tackling Jordan Peterson and 12 Rules for Life. We're getting into the big stuff he's known for. Order, chaos, finding your place, the heady stuff.
It's definitely sparked a lot of conversation, and for good reason. Peterson's not afraid to get real. In 12 Rules, he goes deep on human nature, how we fit into the world. And he pulls from psychology, myths, the works.
And I'm always up for good metaphor, which he definitely delivers. But using lobsters to explain social hierarchies, I gotta admit, I'm interested, but lobsters.
It's classic Peterson, right? Connecting things you'd never expect. Picture a lobster tank.
Yeah.
There's a hierarchy. The top lobsters, best spots, most food, the whole deal. But Peterson says it's more than just being the biggest bully. He connects high serotonin, that feel-good brain chemical, to dominance in lobsters. And here's where it gets wild. He suggests similar stuff might be happening in human hierarchies too.
So it's not just about throwing your weight around. You're saying our place in the pecking order, even for us humans, could be tied to our biology. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there.
Exactly. And it gets even more complex when you realize the world's always changing. It's not enough to climb the ladder. We have to adapt just to stay on.
So how do we do that? Thrive in a world where the rules never seem to stop changing.
Peterson uses another great analogy here. The Red Queen from Alice in Wonderland. It takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place.
Right.
He said life's a lot like that. We're constantly running, adapting, learning just to keep up, let alone get ahead.
Man, that Red Queen analogy is spot on. Makes you think about the effort it takes just to keep up these days. New skills, new tech, new everything, exhausting. But if you want to get anywhere, you can't stand still.
Exactly. And that constant pressure to adapt, to push forward, that's key to understanding Peterson's ideas about sacrifice, which, we'll get into next.
Okay, so life's this race we got to keep running, constantly adapting. Where does sacrifice fit in? And what does Peterson even mean by that anyway?
Right, when you hear sacrifice, you think big, dramatic stuff. But Peterson makes it practical. Everyday choices. What we give up now for something better down the line. He says, this ability to delay gratification, to play the long game, that was huge for humans evolving.
Give me an example. How'd that work, like way back when and even now?
He uses early humans sharing a mammoth kill. Right? Imagine giving up your share of the meat today, knowing it builds trust, makes the group stronger. That's a sacrifice that pays off later. Right? Everyone's more likely to survive long term.
Makes sense. So it's an investment, not just in you, but the community, the future. And that idea of sacrificing for something bigger, that's got to connect to Peterson and meaning, right?
You got it. Peterson says finding meaning. It's not about chasing good times all the time. It's about your actions lining up with a bigger purpose, values that make things better for you, for the world. And that takes sacrifice, giving up something now for something that matters more later on.
So if I'm staying in to study instead of going out, or working extra hours to give my family a better future, those aren't just sacrifices. They're choices that make my life mean more.
Exactly. It's recognizing that meaning.
Yeah.
Purpose, good relationships, making a difference. Those things usually take effort, discipline, and sacrifice too.
Like they say, no pain, no gain, right? Can't shy away from the tough stuff if you want something worthwhile. Peterson also talks about stories, myths. How does that fit in?
This is where it gets really interesting. He believes those old stories, Bible, Greek myths, whatever.
Yeah.
They're not just entertainment. They reflect deep truths about being human. We've been telling them for so long for a reason, right?
Yeah.
They're guidance on navigating life, facing our fears, finding meaning even when things are rough.
So myths are like roadmaps for a good life, passed down for generations.
Kinda, yeah. They're insights into the human experience.
Yeah.
Peterson believes they can still help us now, even in the modern world.
It's wild, right? Stories from like forever ago still speaking to us now, like this wisdom about life's challenges, finding meaning. It just lasts.
Yeah, and Peterson says understanding those stories, not just the surface, but the psychology underneath. It helps us get ourselves, our motivations, our place in things.
So it's not just reading them, it's like really getting inside them, unpacking what they mean.
Exactly. And that leads to something big in Peterson's work.
Yeah.
Self-awareness. Knowing yourself, your good and bad, really getting it.
Everyone talks about that, but how do we actually do it? Peterson's take on that always intrigues me.
He's all about honesty to ourselves, to others. Truth-telling, even when it's tough, that's how we learn who we are. Facing those hard truths, the stuff we want to hide from.
Right. If you're always lying to yourself, avoiding tough feelings, you can't see clearly. But how does honesty connect to like living a meaningful life. That's the link I'm curious about.
Peterson says it's like only when we're real with ourselves about what we want, why we do things, that's when our actions can match our values. Living authentically, being true to you, what you believe. And that takes guts, facing the hard stuff, making tough calls.
So meaning, it's not out there somewhere. It's something we make. By the choices we make, how we act, living by what matters to us.
Exactly. And in this crazy, unpredictable world that's powerful, you have the power, meaning in your life, no matter what's going on around you.
This has been intense. Peterson is a lot, but man, insightful, hopeful even. What's the one thing you want our listener to walk away with today, if they only remember one thing?
If I had to pick, meaning isn't something that just happens. You make it. By the choices you make, how you live, sticking to your values, even when it's hard, embrace the tough stuff, make those hard choices, keep trying to make things better, even just a little. That's where meaning lives.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. Remember those lobsters, the Red Queen, and that power to choose meaning, even in the chaos. Until next time, keep asking those big questions and keep diving deep.